say something. So we're being hosted from Florida, Alachua area, and we do have a host of devotees here from different places, both in the US and Canada. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. And also Hawaii is on with us. And we got Brampton, Haribad, you're in New Jersey. Hope the temple is doing well. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj. There was a lot of rain and some flooding, but both temples are fine. The new temple is still under construction.
Okay, Jai. I'm currently in Calgary, and it's 42 below with the wind chill factor. Can you believe it?
I can't.
You are
can't
warming
believe
up the place.
Ice everywhere.
Yeah, snow, ice. I'm scared to open the door.
Oh, please don't. 42 below?
42
Maharaj,
below.
if it's 42 above zero, we don't go out.
I know.
It's kind of the other extreme. That's really what it is. I've also been through weather 50 below, yet the sun was shining.
42, where is this?
42 below, it's in Calgary, Alberta.
Calgary, yeah.
It's just an hour's drive from the Rocky Mountains, one of the most beautiful spots in North America. But yeah, it is pretty brutal. It's the Alberta of Canada. Oil country. Yeah, what else? Beef cattle.
Edmonton is even colder, right?
Edmonton, slightly. They get the same Chinooks as the, which is like warm winds that come from the mountains. So you can go to work, it'll be 30 below, and then in the afternoon you come out and it's 3+ or something like that. I guess you build up your immunity. Haribol Anuttama, speaking of a former Albertan.
I was there last week.
Oh yeah, nice, good, thank you, good. I guess we can all get started then. And we'll just start with our mantras honoring Prabhupada, the 2 pranam mantras to him. And then to the Panchatattva, and then to Radha Krishna in the form of the Mahamantra. I'm just trying to see how I'm staying with a nice family here. Can you see them, how nice they are?
Hey, Krishna.
So let's do our mantras. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. We will request any of the recipients or participants in our dialogue to show themselves to prove that you're not a disembodied being, that you're not a ghost. You can just show your physical self. It would be kind of nice. All right, great. So now we'll go to page 1 of the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we'll just follow after me in this first verse at the top. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Chakshurun Militan Yena
Chakshurun Militam Yena
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
I was born in the darkest ignorance,
was born in the darkest ignorance,
and my spiritual master opened my eyes
and my spiritual master opened my eyes
with the torch of knowledge.
with the torch of knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So
Jai.
I ask our host to Vaishnavi, just tell us where we left off from last week in the Bhagavad Gita as it is.
16:20.
Okay, chapter 16, Divine and Demonic Natures. Okay. And here we go. I will do the Sanskrit verse. I'll do the translation in English, and then we'll get, I say we can probably get 3 people to help us to read the purport in queue. Would you like to establish those people first, Vaishnavi? Any
Okay,
volunteer?
Maharaj. Yes. So we'll start off with Naman, Sankalpa, and Jennifer. Are you, Jai Shri Vrinda, are you able to read? If not,
Yes, Mataji, I can read.
okay. So you go.
Wonderful. Nice to have you back. Okay, so here we go. Asuring yonim apana mudha janmani janmani mam aprapyaiva kaunteya tato yant atmanang gatim, attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life, O son of Kunti. Such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. And so the purport then, read by the Q people.
It is
Q
known.
Okay, I'm the first one.
No, Naman is the first one.
Who?
Naman.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Manaji. It is known that God is all merciful, but here we find that God is never merciful to the demoniac. It is clearly stated that the demoniac people, life after life, are put into the wombs of similar demons, and not achieving the mercy of the Supreme Lord, they go down and down, so that at last they achieve bodies like those of cats, dogs, and hogs. It is clearly stated that such demons have practically no chance of receiving the mercy of God at any stage of later life.
Thank you so much. Next person.
In the Vedas, also it is stated that such persons gradually sink to become dogs and hogs. It may be then argued in this connection that God should not be advertised as all merciful if he is not merciful to such demons. In answer to this question, in the Vedanta Sutra, we find that the Supreme Lord has no hatred for anyone. The placing of the asuras, the demons, in the lowest status of life is simply another feature of his mercy. Sometimes,
Thank you. Sorry to make it short, but better short than nothing. Next. Who's next in line?
Am I next? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was taking care of my daughter. Where were we? I'm on the right verse, but
It's on the screen if you can look it up.
oh, good.
It's sometimes.
Oh, the screen? Oh, there we go. Great. Sometimes the asuras are killed by the Supreme Lord, but this killing is also good for them. For in Vedic literature, we find that anyone who is killed by the Supreme Lord becomes liberated. There are instances in history of many asuras, Ravana, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, to whom the Lord appeared in various incarnations just to kill them. Therefore, God's mercy is shown to the asuras if they are fortunate enough to be killed by him.
I thank you so much. What a lively topic here today. Of course, we are dealing with asuras. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Smastai Vidave Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Pramane Namaste Saraswati Devi Varavani Vicharini Yashish Shanyavati Pastachedi Shatarini. Okay. So one thing that we can be assured of, according to the recent verses we've been looking at, is that there's going to be a repetition of something. And that is whether you are living a divine life or one that is not so glorious, you're going to come back again. And for those who have taken up nasty habits, like the likes of the demons, yeah, they may eventually meet face to face with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and have a chance to be liberated. Some of these personalities are identified by name. I think that when it comes through as when we're talking about dictators and tyrants and people of that caliber, the foremost are the ones mentioned here. From Ram Leela, it's Ravana. Krishna Leela, it's Kamsa. And from the Leela of Narasimha, it's Hiranyakashipu. I think that those characters really stand out in our minds as to wrongdoers and people of bad intent. I want to just bring to your attention that eventually, even the demonic soul comes to a point where he or she comes to some point of revelation, and usually it involves a devotee's, let's call it interference. The pattern looks bad. The condemnation is what it is. Looks like one spirals down, and that doesn't have much of a chance. But there's also, since we're talking about chance, good chance that certain persons can get liberated and get out of the, the trend, the pattern of going lower and lower and lower. Now, when we say lower forms of life, cats, dogs, and hogs, some Western folks will have issues with cats and dogs. But just Prabhupada conveniently uses these particular species. Let's say they are pets for a lot of folks, and since they're subhuman, they get that particular status for many of our acharyas, And why are they not looked up to? Well, as Prabhupada has explained many times over, they can be very loving creatures and provide incredible companionship, but they're generally not so much interested in spiritual events and not interested in self-realization. Of course, a lot of human beings can fit into that bracket. Not interested, no thanks, no time. I remember being a brahmachari in my early days and being on the street and trying to sell books, Back to Godhead magazines, incense sticks, whatever it was that devotees were producing. And it was a common phrase. The mantra would be, no thanks, no time, maybe later, get a job. Get a job. And I thought I had the most difficult job of all, trying to convince people to take a spiritual path. But the worst of it is when people would not say anything. They just walk by and ignore you. At least if someone was to make a bark or a meow, I would feel I was recognized and acknowledged. But that wasn't always the case. Condemned we are if we cannot give some time to otherworldliness, to the spiritual component in life. And that's what we'd like to do for everybody. Like when we're talking about lower forms of life, I always remember what was the exchange, basic exchange between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu oftentimes would feign to be like the student. You come across like, I don't know too much. Can you help me? Can you help clarify something for me? So he would go to somebody like Haridas Thakur, who was an incredible authority in mantra meditation. And he'd ask him, what about grass? What about plants? And Haridas Thakur would confirm, yes, the chanting of Krishna's name is so powerful that even lower life forms can benefit from it. You know, I think plants, they're very receptive to different sounds, you know. They bend to sound. When I was raised on a farm, and, you know, cows, we give them a little bit more honor than cats and dogs, right? But cows and bulls, they would always respond to when you'd sing in the barnyard, always. And many of my neighboring friends, they would, in order to get the milk to come out to be released more easily, you have a radio in the barn, and this is in the 50s and the 60s, a radio in the barn. Why? To calm the animals. They would be relaxed to hear music. Of course, usually it was crooner music, like Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin or something like that. It would have to be kind of like soothing and smoothing kind of music. But anyways, creatures could respond to soft sounds and something that is a rhythm and that which has a beat. And so there we have it. Everyone has a chance and opportunity to get back to Godhead eventually. And I just want to clarify, when Krishna is saying one falls down into a lower species and is practically perpetual, well, there's nothing perpetual in this world. Everyone has a chance, you know. And indeed, Krishna is merciful, like Prabhupada expresses here. So those are a few opening remarks. Anybody have some thoughts? Anything they'd like to bring up?
Maharaj, I have a question. Can you explain the mercy part of the Lord when a soul is perpetually going down? I mean, when you look at it from the outside, it doesn't look like much of mercy.
Yes, yeah, we did touch on that yesterday and a little bit now. Yeah, it's a long time. That would be the implication here, that it's a long time that you're in hell. But eventually you come around, and one does have a choice. Otherwise, there would be no such thing as God being kind and full of grace and having mercy. So one way I would discuss this topic is I would say that this is a black and a white, I hope I'm not politically incorrect, a black and a white chapter. Everything is either very good or it's very bad, right? So it has that particular flavor. Now, we are all students of the Vedas, and I think when you look at other sections of the Vedas, our own books, you'll find a slightly different answer to the question. And you would, you know, and we are trained, we should be trained to think that, well, we can accommodate contradictory statements. Okay? Can I give an example of a touchy topic? Okay, we hear sometimes in the first chapter, Prabhupada makes a statement about, you know, women being less intelligent, but then he doesn't go on to say anything about what, you know, what kind of intelligence. Is it left brain, right brain? He doesn't get into it. And then we hear other places where Prabhupada says women seem to participate more in spiritual ventures than anybody, or avenues than men. So when you take it all in, it balances out quite nicely. It really does. He talks about the soft-heartedness of people like Draupadi and men being a little bit hard-hearted, and yet both apply, both have their place. So it almost requires that we have to look at the whole gamut and not just look at one particular segment of the books and say, this is it, and form a whole religion around it. There has to be a holistic approach to our study of the Vedas and be willing to accommodate varying contradictory statements. Swallow it all. That's what we're trying to say. And look at the time and place and circumstance. So some of us were raised in cultural traditions of different faith groups where it is extremely black and white. But what I always enjoyed about Krishna consciousness is that it really depends on the time, place, and circumstance. Now, I have on my table in what we call the Prabhupada sitting room back in Toronto, I have copies of the 3 thick books of Shikshamrita, all the letters that Prabhupada has written on different subjects. Now, Prabhupada has written certain letters that were meant for specific individuals. We should not take one specific letter as absolute for all individuals. I think you can hear me on that. And it may be very absolute for that one recipient, but we should also appreciate that he was giving different directions for different people, and because he was personal. So that's how I would answer your question, Prabhu. Krishna is kind to the demons, as is expressed here, because even though they were vile and wicked and terroristic by nature, Krishna still would deal with them, and he'd give them more than a slap on the wrist. He would be very firm with them, and in the end give them a form of liberation. Not necessarily like the kind of liberation we seek after, which is to be in a place where we can serve Krishna, but he might give them Sayuja Mukti or something else. So it's a deep topic, and I hope we can just keep in mind that Krishna has got a plan. His policies are perfect and complete, and we do have to look at time, place, circumstance, which is always a serious matter when dealing with this physical karmic world. Hare Krishna. So we got some other hands up here. We've got Haripad, Prabhu. Would you like to put forth your question, Prabhu, or comment?
Yes, Maharaj. My comment is on the pets that are common in households these days. Like if you look at the history of the Donner Party, for example, the Donner Reed Party in 1840, they tried to go from the Midwest of America, or rather the East of America, to California. And in the process, they got caught in snowstorms. And it is well documented that all their pets and all their animals were first sacrificed for food by the humans. And then the second part is less controversial, but it's more controversial, sorry. But it is also said that they actually resorted to cannibalism in order to make it across the Sierra Nevada mountains and reach the coast. So I think, if people, they can become demons, and depending on the circumstances, I guess,
Yeah, thank you. I could throw myself outside in the snow at 42 below, and maybe be stuck somewhere way up north, and where there's only wolves and hungry whatever else, polar bears. And anyways, if I saw an opportunity to kill an animal, I'd just rather freeze to death. chant Hare Krishna. I wouldn't slay an animal. Let them eat me. I don't want to eat them. Gladly eat me. My body's full of prasadam. I've been having prasadam for 70 years, so they can get some benefit in that regard.
All glories to your lotus feet, Maharaj.
Well, I think that they would take feet, but they would also chew on the fingers and on the nose and the guts, probably more than anything. Yeah, good. Hare Krishna. Maybe that's a silly answer, but it is an answer. Okay, Gaurav, you have something you want to bring up?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So I have one question. Like we have been talking about how we will be born in the lower bodies like of cats and dogs if we don't perform our activities clearly or don't follow spirituality. So a similar kind of question was asked by one of my friends to me like a month ago. So I just remembered. He said, doesn't like this kind of fear make you a God-fearing person rather than a God-loving person? And I was unable to answer that. So how do you answer that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't. It was a little muddled. Could you just only have to explain half of what I heard your first part. I'm really trying to hear.
So one of my friends, like some months ago, like who follow some other religion, they asked me like all these kind of things you say, like if you don't do this or don't do this, you will be born in the lower bodies. Doesn't that make you a God-fearing person instead of a God-loving person? And I was not able to answer him. So how do we answer them?
Yes, well, in Krishna consciousness, we have a bit of both. If you look at the Garuda Purana, it outlines things like if you commit this wrong, you will be condemned into this kind of birth and so on like that. You do have elements of that in our culture. We do. It's a nice mix of love and fear. So most people don't, let's say, I'd say a lot of people respond to love, but they get a little bit lax and complacent. So the fear element, when it's presented through Shastra or whatever, sometimes the guru may also come along a little firm and say, listen, put his foot down and said, you better do this or something like that. There will be negative consequences. So, and we use that tactic with children. Isn't it? The best children come from those who know a lot of love. And I've also, there's let's say, a dash of a little bit of, like little threats here and there comes from parents. It's part of parenting, And God, Krishna is our ultimate parent, and his messages come through in the Shastras. So I would say we need a little bit of both, We need a little bit of both. And even when you mature and pass all the examinations, you'll still, you still should be accepting the love factor and also the fear factor. But I would say there's danger if you just embrace either one or the other, as part of our training. Okay. I mean, we hear in the Shastras that if you eat grains on the Ekadashi, it's equivalent to killing your mother. Okay. When I first heard that, I says, oh my God, I don't want to kill my mother. But it is let's say it's in there and you can't deny it. And yet it put a little bit of, I felt a little threatened, and it just got me a little bit more serious, We can't just it can't be a lovey-dovey program where it's all just, let's say, what shall I say? It can't just be lovey-dovey and mushy. There's got to be a little bit of gravity in our life as well. Prabhupada instilled that in us. He didn't even like when he saw people in the hallway, devotees in the hallway, just sort of hanging out, if you know what I mean, and just being kind of casual. Said, why are they not busy? Why are they not doing something? So when that message got to Prabhupada, those devotees said, oh yeah, I guess we better get our act together and get, not be so frivolous. So I do believe both elements need to be there to make you a strong devotee. You see a lot of pictures where Prabhupada's firm. What does it do for you? It says, oh yeah, I guess I should pick up on the spirit. And then you see pictures where he's smiling with, just from ear to ear is his mouth, And so both need to be embraced. It's another case of the same situation, something that appears contradictory, and let's say accommodate them both. What do you say about that?
Yes, it's right, Maharaj. Right, makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
I mean, some of these traditions where it's all fear, what comes out of them often, I just see a lot of hate and anger and aggressiveness. And then you have the other side where everything's so soft and, lackadaisical, if I can use that term. There's a danger in that as well. So we have to sort of keep on our toes and maybe smile all at the same time, A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Okay. Anybody else? I really admire the group we got today. We have a nice crew here. Then I think we should go to the next one, 21. We'll ask someone to surrender to reading the Sanskrit, the next person to surrender less to reading the English. And then we have a short purport. Okay, so we got material here for 3 people. Can I ask one of our devotees here? She can be the first one.
Okay.
The rest are up to you, Vaishnavi. 2 more people.
All right.
Can I steal your book from you?
Do we have 2 more volunteers?
Vasanta and Uday.
Good day.
Where
Okay, right here. Okay, we're starting with Shameshwari here.
That one, right? The Sanskrit. Trividam
No. It's Shameshwari. She's the first one.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Trividam narakashedam dvaram nashanam atmana kama krodastata lobhas tasmad etatrayam tyajet.
Very good. Now the translation.
Vasanta.
Hare Krishna, sorry about that. There are 3 gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul.
Thank you very much. That's pretty straightforward. And in the purport, it's Uday, I believe.
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. The beginning of demoniac life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to the species of demoniac life must try to give up these 3 enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Prabhu, I'd like to defer to chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, its connection to what was just said there. Okay, so chapter 2, text 62. You can flip your pages or you can scroll. Flip or scroll with your soul. I hope you all have the references to those who are driving there, where it might not be possible. 262 goes like this. Jayato vishyam pungsa. Sangas tishupajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama. Kamat krudo vijayate. And here's the translation of the first verse. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. So those 2 first phrases, you look, you get attached. And what comes as a result of it? Lust. From such attachment, lust develops. And after lust, anger arises. Next verse. I appeal to you all to learn these two verses. They are amazing. Krodat bhavati sangmoha. Sangmohat smriti vibramaha. Smriti brangshad pudinasho. Pudinashat pranashati. From anger, complete delusion arises. And from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So the material pool is like the hell that's being referred to in today's verse. So lust, anger, greed, they are companions, and they do hang around with each other. And they're gangsters, I guess you could say. They are like our enemies, and one should try to curb them. They are killers of the soul. They will ensure that you will come back into this world more than once. So therefore, be sane. Prabhupada saying, be sane, and do not glide into these lower species of life. Give up these three enemies, and you see, it's very hard to give up anything when you're holding on to something. Like if I'm what can I say? We had a program tonight. There was a cute little kid. His name was Raj, and he would show us every toy that he owned, every toy. So he's attached to those toys. And when he was holding on to the toys, you could see he had a feeling for them. Now, if I was to go to him and take one of those toys out of his hands, he would feel like he was really missing something, unless if I replaced it with one of his other toys. Okay, so you can't just pull away from something and be left rejected, empty-handed. There's really a need to replace an object, usually with a superior object. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Parang drishtva nivartate. You can give up the lower tastes of Maya by embracing devotional service. Do something superior, something that gives real joy. Hare Krishna. 3 gates to hell. Anybody going towards any of those gates over there? Anybody? I see people going, I see this, but I don't see it. Okay. I've got some honest people here now. Okay, great. So we have Jorge, who's on with us, and he's got his hand up.
No, I was just saying, Maharaj, you were saying any people who are going into those gates, and I was admitting to going into those gates. So that's why I had my hand raised.
Okay, great. Prabhu, I know your voice, but Jorge, I don't. Who are you?
My name is Jai Sachinandana Das. It's just I have it there under Jorge Salazar, which is my birth name.
Okay. Wow.
I was invited to this group from Bhagavanarda Prabhu.
Bhagavanarda, he's a great friend of mine, and what a favor he did by bringing you on board. Thank you so much. Yeah, we see you now. Haribol. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Great. I love personalism. All right. Anybody else? Any comments on this? Okay, let's hear more about the 3 gates. Okay, let's go to the next shloka. I think we can probably cover 3 verses today. Okay, one person can help us through the Sanskrit, another person the English, and I think we can have 3 people help us on the purport. Vaishnavi, do you want to form the queue?
Yes, Maharaj. So, Anutama Prabhu, Arjun, are you ready to read?
Yes, Mataji, I can read.
And Garv, you can read.
Yes,
Arjun, Garv, and Anutama Prabhu.
Okay. Iti vimukta kaunteya tamodvara stribirnara acharati atmana shreyas tato yati param gatim.
Thank you so much. Translation.
The man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization, and thus gradually attains the supreme destination.
Beautiful, thank you.
Hare
Next
Krishna Maharaj.
person.
One should be very careful with 3 enemies of human life: lust, anger, and greed. The more of a person is freed from lust, anger, and greed, the more his existence becomes pure. Then he can follow the rules and regulations enjoined in Vedic literature. By following the regulative principles of human life, one gradually raises himself to the platform of spiritual realization. If one
Thank
is
you
so
so much. That's okay. I know you're enthusiastic, but we have to give a chance to others. Okay, who's next?
Jorge, you can read.
Where did we leave off?
If one is so fortunate.
If one is so fortunate by such practice to rise to the platform of Krishna consciousness, then success is guaranteed for him. In the Vedic literature, the ways of action and reaction are prescribed to enable one to come to the stage of purification. The whole method is based on giving up lust, greed, and anger. By cultivating knowledge of this process, let's see, sorry, that was moved a little bit. By cultivating knowledge of this process, one can be elevated to the highest position of self-realization. This self-realization is perfected in devotional service.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Next person.
I can read, Maharaj. In that devotional service, the liberation of the conditioned soul is guaranteed. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, there are instituted the 4 orders of the life and 4 statuses of life, called the caste system and the spiritual order system. There are different rules and regulations for different castes or divisions of society, and if a person is able to follow them, he will automatically raised to the highest platform of spiritual realization. Then he can have liberation without a doubt.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your reading. Yeah, I was just contemplating on the phrase, and I will say a few things. Then I'd like to leave, the platform for all of you, those who didn't have a chance to say anything. We'll give you a few minutes. When it is said you have to give up these 3 enemies or give up bad habits, it's just, I was wondering why in English give and then up. Well, it seems to me that whatever you do, you have to give it up to Krishna. Like you don't give it down. You throw it up to him. Krishna, please take care of my enemies. I can't handle them anymore. Just an interesting phrase, and but there is an implication here that I don't need it anymore. And while we get so conditioned and so attached to certain habits, after you're able to let go, you wonder, well, what was I holding on for anyways? Why was I so connected in the first place? So everything should be executed as an offering to Krishna. So therefore, I guess I feel more free about that phrase now. Give up. Whatever you got is a bad habit, cigarette butts. Krishna, you can have them. You know what to do with them. No one else does. Good. Well, thank you so much. I would just like to leave the floor open for anybody else who has some comments, because we have so much collected intelligence here.
Two people have raised their hands, Anutama and Jayshree.
Oh, Alex.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Haribol.
You were talking about how sometimes in our literature there's some like words that may not apply in modern day, and I think the caste system is probably one of those phrases.
Yes. Did you want to remark about that or anything?
Yeah, I mean it's always had a negative connotation. Like sometimes when Prabhupada says that, we're here to spread the cult of bhakti, the cult also has a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. Yes. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's totally cool to be a member, like a deadhead, to be below the Grateful Dead. That means you're a deadhead and you're kind of cool. Or if you follow Tony Bennett, who's now passed away, and they would say Tony Bennett cult. It was a cool cult, So there are cool cults and there are cruel cults. I understand what you're saying, the term caste system. When Prabhupada was in Toronto, 76, he met with a member of the Toronto Star. That was the country's largest newspaper. And she was actually saying that, he says, tell us a little bit about your caste system. And then Prabhupada refuted her, say, we don't believe in a caste system. He was trying to confirm that we have the four social spiritual orders. A nicer terminology would be, I think you would agree with me, Anutama, there's the spiritual order system. But sometimes for practical purposes, the terminology is used, caste system, to say that there's divisions in society. And I guess some people are comfortable with it, some are not. Who knows? The world is full of surprises. Maybe 10 years from now, people say, I like the caste system. I love it. Let's embrace it. Nothing else is working out after all. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was talking to Chand Kazi is a Muslim leader at the time, and Chand Kazi was arguing, well, you're charging us for killing animals, in our tradition amongst the Muslims. But there is all kinds of evidence that you would kill a horse or you would kill a cow in sacrifice in your tradition. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conveniently used the word, we Hindus don't generally kill animals. But in bygone ages, there might be a horse sacrifice or a cow sacrifice. He stuck to the Ashwamedha Yajna, horse sacrifice. Then he explained what that was all about. A horse would be he may be executed, forced into a fire, and then he would come out of the fire rejuvenated. Usually it was an old specimen that was sacrificed. And then out of the fire of sacrifice would come a new body, rejuvenated. So he was just making a point that there was no real death here. There was, like a new birth had taken place, like another chance, another opportunity. So Mahaprabhu used the word Hindu, and of course he didn't identify as being a Hindu. It isn't anywhere else in the texts. It's very rare. He identified as being a Vaishnava, a devotee of Krishna, Gopi Bharatur Padakamalayavara Dasa Dasa Anudas. He said, I'm not a brahmachari even. I'm not a grihastha. I'm not a vanaprasthi or sannyas. I'm not the Kshatriya Brahman Vaishya Shudra. I am simply the servant of the master of the gopis. That was what he identified with. So that was his truth. And you would deliver that. So for convenience sake, sometimes we use these terms, Hindu or caste system or, whatever the case may be. Depends time, place, circumstance. Who are you talking to? Right? But I would say, Anuttama, on your concern, there's more. Prabhupada mentions the word Varnashram Dharma, probably more than even the word Krishna in the Bhagavatam. Probably that word, somebody can check it out, Varna and Ashram, again and again and again. Okay, great. And we have Brenda, Jennifer.
Yes, Jai Shri Vrinda. Haribol Maharaj.
Yes, Haribol.
So I was just thinking after reading these that I realized that sometimes I tell myself I really need to strive to achieve and acquire the things that I desire so that I don't have to come back for them. And I realized that maybe I created a philosophy to kind of foster and develop the lust and greed. Do you think that's what that sounds like?
It could well be, yeah. We usually like to, find something in the Shastra that resonates very well, and we say, yeah, I think I like this aspect of the Krishna consciousness very much, and I'm going to really take hold of that, and I will, formulate a religion, and I'll register it, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, surely we'll go to that extreme sometimes. A key word for us is balance. Maintain equilibrium. Don't go too extreme one way or the other. And that's the kind of mood that Krishna was trying to instill into Arjuna while he was needing to execute his duty, in this case, to go out in the battlefield and fight the good fight. So get that balance. It's so important. Now, I'm a Libran, so to me, everything has to be balanced. If I go into a room, if I see a vase, like I see this in some temples, they've got a vase of flowers on one side of Prabhupada, and I wonder, why isn't there another vase on the other side of him? And I psychologically, I go a little bit crazy inside. How could that be? How could they do that? What are they thinking? So for me, anyways, I go by my own nature in that regard. Things has to be very balanced. And there's how many verses in the Bhagavad Gita? 700. And out of 700, you're going to get quite a few that talk about balance. So therefore, think about that. Application to balance is very necessary. Hare Krishna. Anything else? The floor is open. The floor has just been shined with the new wax. Anyone can slide on it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandot Pranam. This is Rasraj Das.
Yes, Rasraj, Mr.
Yes.
Cool.
So on the last part, Maharaj, I was reading in Bhagavatam when Lord Vishnu appears in the arena of Prithu Maharaj. So he was and Indra was trying to steal his horse of the 100th sacrifice. So Lord Vishnu told Prithu Maharaj that forgive Indra, because since you and Indra both are my part and parcel, so you both are non-different. So we are in different bodies because we have different desires. Otherwise, we are same, and a serious transcendentalist normally ignores the outer covering, which is the body. So that spiritual vision, if we practice, so the biggest enemy, which is lust, comes to zero, like mathematically. So and in chapter 13, Bhagavad Gita, verse 29, 30, 31, explains this spiritual vision. So if this biggest enemy is taken care, then the envy and the anger, all those also subsides, I guess.
Okay. Do you want to leave with a guess, or?
I mean, So that's like a lot of information given on this Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, a lot of instances. So this was one I wanted to share, Maharaj.
Are you kind of endorsing the philosophy of Achincha Bheda Bheda Tattva, perhaps?
To
some extent.
That I would say, Maharaj, that belongs to the Lord, because like he is present in his own abode, and he is present here also and everywhere. So he like it's more belongs to the Supreme Lord. But we are I'm just talking about if we ignore the outer covering, and look at the spiritual. So we are this, or the spiritual are same. They are
Yeah.
a like nature.
There's oneness in that. Yeah, there's oneness on the spiritual platform.
Yes, Maharaj.
And we see more differentiation on the physical platform.
Yes, Maharaj. So that's material vision. So that's what I am trying to say. We should practice. We we cannot be perfect in overnight, but we should practice spiritual vision.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one of the nicest verses is Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavahaschini Shuni Chaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshina, which means that when you have equal vision, it means this. You see a Brahmin like a very refined human being, and a sort of like a rough, right, like what would you call it? Rough redneck or whatever, to be the same. Or you see a dog and a cow. A cow is very revered, and an elephant also. And from a Vedic perspective, dogs don't have the same status for some reason or another. But you're supposed to see them all equal, and because they are all parts and parcels of the Lord. So physically, there's distinction, but spiritually, there is no distinction. So, therefore we embrace this philosophy of Achincha Bheda Bheda Tattva. That's, you want to develop equal vision, that's the way you have to do it through that channel of Achincha Bheda Bheda Tattva. Inconceivable, simultaneous, oneness, but difference. Therefore, we have to look at some of the statements in the Shastras that seem to contradict and be able to embrace them, hold them together at the same time. One in one hand and one in the other hand. Like that. It's not purely a black and white situation.
Yes, Maharaj.
Go ahead.
So I also read when at the time of annihilation, when all the jivas enter Lord Vishnu, we enter as same soul, but when we come back to this world, we take up our bodies back.
Individual. Well, we retain our individuality. That's right. Because Krishna is not really that happy about everything being the same. It's too bland for him. Right? He's the spice of life.
Yes.
Masala. Masala. Should we, Prabhus, do we have time? Everyone can we go through the whole list of us?
We could, but Abhinetri had her hands up. I'm not sure if she still wants to ask a question or not.
Who was that? Savitri?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji. Dandavats Pranam. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. No, I was just trying to say that I think the caste system, the way it was set up, was not so rigid, and it was meant for a functional society. And it wasn't like if you were a Shudra, you couldn't pursue like business. It was, you would have a Jyotisha or somebody who would come and tell you that, you have these inclinations and you could pursue forward. I think caste system became rigid later on during,
you're right. Yes.
And that was, and we even see great personalities like Karna, who's a Kshatriya, he's born to Kunti, and sun god was denied teachings by Dronacharya because he was considered a Shudra and not a Kshatriya, but he was a great warrior in his own way. Right. No, that's all I wanted to say. It wasn't like a rigid system and it wasn't necessarily a bad system, and it was never a taboo to, like, a Sudra could never worship God. It was never meant to be that way. But it became that way. They weren't really allowed in the temples the same way, and became more of a taboo.
Yeah, Krishna
That's
has
all.
definitely established the policies in a very pure format, but we tend to contaminate them and we make them toxic. We're very good at that, making everything contaminated. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Now, can you help us go through everyone? You got 4 words
Okay.
that would describe your take home from our
Alright.
discussion this last hour. Okay, 4 words.
Ananta Sesha Prabhu.
Varna sounds more positive than caste. I'm sorry, more than 4 words.
Okay, all right, okay. Can you say that again? It sounded,
Yeah,
you know,
Varna, it sounds more positive than caste.
oh yeah, you're right. Being in a caste, yeah, like locked in, yeah, Varna. It sounds more liberating, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, next person.
Abhinetri.
Avoid lust, anger, and greed.
Avoid lust, anger, and greed. Yes, very nice. Bravo.
Aditi.
I will drink to that.
Aditi.
Hare Krishna. I really liked the point, Maharaj, that you said give up lust, anger, greed, pride, and all other things is give up to Krishna. So that was the
Right.
one
Send
that
it up to him. He has to gobble it up in the end, anyways. Unfortunately, Krishna's the garbage collector.
Anuttama.
Lust, anger, greed, bad.
Bad. Very good. Like it.
Arjuna.
To the point.
Instead of speculating, listen to Guru Sadhu Sastra.
Okay, thank you.
Bhagavan Narada.
Don't beat yourself up.
Charles.
Charles. Don't beat yourself up. Okay.
Are you able to speak, Charles?
Charles is usually driving.
Garv Siddhana.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Everyone has chance to go back to Godhead. I'm sorry, it is more than.
Harita.
Everyone chants Godhead. Okay.
Harita. Jai Sachinandana Das.
Jai Sachinandana Das is Hori.
Yeah, there we go. Finally got the mute off. Sorry about that. Moving around for the button. But yeah, stay away from lust, anger, and greed. Try to avoid them as much as possible.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Jai Shri Vrinda.
If I can make a joke, my philosophy is bogus.
My philosophy is bogus. Love it. Love it. Okay.
Naman. Naman. Narayani. Nitya Priya. Pavitra.
Hey, we got to be sharp. Listen.
Pavitra.
Surrender to Krishna consciousness.
Sankalpa.
Balanced life makes happy.
Nice.
Sandamini.
Developed higher spiritual taste.
Okay. This, I think Svetlana Mata is unable to speak. So, okay. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. For me, it was always keep your balance.
All right. Uday, always keep your balance, she said.
Oh, okay, great. Yes, thank you.
Uday.
Embrace the contradictions.
Embrace the contradictions. Okay.
Vasanta.
Get over lost anger and greed with Bhagwan's help in your heart.
Okay, that's 4 times 2 at least. So you're ahead for next week. You give us the extra 4 words, right? So you don't get a chance next week, right? Next.
That would be me. If somebody else wants to say Narayani or somebody else, Naman, please go ahead. So for me, it would be yes, lust, anger, and greed are not very good.
Lust, anger, and greed. That's 4 words right there. Okay. Who's next?
I think we covered everyone. You were asking.
No.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
You haven't covered everybody. We got some people here in 42 below. You have to be warm with them.
Okay.
Rameshwari. 4 words.
4 words. Prabhupada's letters, personal in brackets, some. Somebody's letters are personal, I don't know.
Prabhupada's letters are personalized. Okay.
Escape 3 gates of hell.
Escape 3 gates of hell. Well, don't go there in the beginning.
Lust, degradation of soul.
Lust, degradation of the soul. Great. Well, thank you very much. My 4 words are see you next week. All right. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to connect with you all from different parts of the world, including Europe and far out places like Hawaii. Hare Krishna. Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Vanchakalpa See you next Thursday. Haribol.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Leave.